Welcome back. Today we're going to get back to basics as it relates to protecting ourselves on the roads. We're also going to talk about apps and maps. They help us navigate better, but are they leading to more distractions?
Good question. Ann Scallon is the publisher and editor of Before the Wheel, an online resource for safe driving, and she joins us via phone today. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing great. Glad to have you. Let's talk a little bit about getting back to basics. I mean, a lot of people, first and foremost, they kind of think about the apps and the maps and things like that. Overall, what's your idea on apps and maps in terms of being a distraction or being helpful?
Well, I think we need to be careful. So a lot of times, we might have an application, giving us direction. If possible, if your application is set up correctly, review the path prior to turning your ignition on. So that way you have an idea of at such and such road, in 5 miles, I'm going to be turning right. So what happens sometimes is if we're just letting the app, tell us every movement, we kind of get nervous. Is this possibly where I'm supposed to turn, or you forget, or whatever? And then we start looking. Or if it's on a phone, we start picking it up and checking. So to kind of get an idea beforehand of where you're going to be going and what you're going to be doing is a big help.
It's like we've forgotten how to drive with apps and maps, or
yes.
use our sense of direction that we had to develop for so long, So getting back to basics is what you really suggest for us at this time, including things like just like seatbelt uses and making sure everything's in the right place, like mirrors and such, right?
Right. So a lot of times, I hear of accidents, and it's like, yes, everyone in the front seat was wearing a seatbelt. If you are the driver, you are responsible to make sure every single person has their seatbelt on. If you have a child in the car, you have to have the right car seat or booster seat.
Yeah, see, and knowing their weight and knowing how the seat goes in is so important too. And you say, and many people may not be aware of this, the driver will get a ticket for any unsecured passengers, right?
That's correct. That is totally correct. The other thing for us to all think about is, as we know, the college kids are all home. This is a time when they're not usually home. The kids are out of school. The first nice day that we get, there's going to be a ton of people outside. So we have to start thinking about that now. How are we going to respond? We've been winter driving. We haven't been thinking about people walking around. We haven't been thinking about bicyclists. And we need to start thinking about how we're going to respond to that.
Smart. One of the things we sort of teased earlier in the show is teens and running late. What do we need to know about timing?
Yeah, so the timing's the most important thing. When you get in that car and you know for sure that you are running late, you need to say to yourself, I'm not going to try to make it here on time. I'm calling the person right now before I get started to say that I'm running late.
Yeah, and if teens are running late, contacting that person is key, but I think also accepting the fact that you might arrive someplace late and you may have to apologize or deal with the consequences, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
That is so much better. That's exactly what we're talking about, because arriving late, if you really think about it, is not that big a deal, and you just have to be honest. You got a late start, and you have to, we talked about it last month, just the same as courteous driving. The decision we make is before we even start the car.
I love that you mentioned pedestrians, the scooters, the motorcyclists, bicyclists, all of that. We talked about the apps and maps. Let's talk about texting before we go, because it's always such a good reminder. You have a suggestion for what you can say to friends and family, right? So that they know that we're not ignoring them.
Right. So sometimes somebody calls me, and honest, I can already tell they're in a vehicle. And I simply say, I do not talk with individuals while they are driving. Can you call me back in 20 minutes or whenever you arrive at your location? Very respectfully, but we all need to stop doing these behaviors.
Well, and there are some things you can program into your phone too.
Auto.
It's an auto messaging where if somebody texts you, they can get an automatic message that says, I'm driving right now, I'll call you as soon as it's safe. And I think it pays to check it out. It's so
Use
easy
those
to get the tutorials on how to use those and then install it on your phone.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. You can find out more about Before the Wheel online. It's a wonderful resource for safe driving. Go to beforethewheel.com.